The New Zealand film season, proudly brought to you by Robertson Lodges.
Hi, I'm Francesca Rudkin, and joining me for New Zealand film season on Rialto Channel, I have got Hayden Weal and Christian Nicolson. Now, Hayden, you are the director, of course, of Chronesthesia.
Perfect.
Thank you, I nailed that. And Christian, you, of course, the director, and we'll talk about the fact you do so much more than directing, but at this stage, you're the director of The Giant Paper Mache Boulder is Actually Really Heavy. Both interesting names. Thanks for those. They just rolled off the tongue. So, Hayden, tell me, this was your debut feature film. Was it fun?
Oh, yeah, it was the most fun I've ever had in my life, actually. And the thing that I'm most proud of doing in my life as well. So, yeah, the best decision ever. And I can't wait to do it another maybe 80 times before I die. I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to do it, but...
As many as you possibly can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Christian, did you enjoy the process?
Oh, totally. You know, it was just like, it was, you know, one of the most amazing things that I've ever done. Full on, mind-numbingly, it was just totally stressful, but, you know, it took over my life and everything else, but it was a barrel of laughs at the same time.
So, Hayden, from the beginning of the idea, from when this idea began, how long did it take for you to get this film completed?
I think from the first word to the first screen, the premiere, was a year and a half.
That's not too bad.
I think just under that.
Well, it's pretty swift.
We could have been shorter too. We could have cut some time out, but there was life things happening in between, so things always got pushed. We never had any deadlines until we got accepted into the New Zealand International Film Festival, 2016, last year.
Small amount of pressure.
Yeah, and then we suddenly had a time that we had to finish. And Simon Duncombe, my chief collaborator, had to do all the visual effects and the colour grading before that date. So it was really nice to have that deadline, even if it was the most stressful part of the process.
So where did the whole idea come from? You wrote the script?
Yeah, I wrote it. It was kind of centred around what we could achieve. So I knew there were locations we could use for free and a lot of actors that I really loved and I wanted to work with. So suddenly I had a cast and I thought, cool, how can they all work together? And an idea that's more interesting than just people talking. So that's where the time travel aspect came from, because again, it's kind of free if you're just talking about 5 days, you know, there's no period pieces involved. So it just grew out of what we could achieve, I think.
So you've caught everybody's attention with those words, time travel. If you have to, you know, if you had to give me the brief synopsis, tell us what we can expect from Chronesthesia.
Chronesthesia is an indie romance with time travel. That's how we're pitching it.
Nice. Perfect.
There you go.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Indie romance with time travel.
Christian, did you manage to whip up your very longly titled film in a short space of time as well?
I guess it's shorter than some movies, but realistically, it took 4 years to complete. I mean, I often say 5 years because I've still been tweaking it ever since, but I can safely say that now it's pretty much finished. Yeah, I mean, the initial sort of... We wrote it over a period of 2 months because it was for a movie competition, so we had a strict, you know, time frame involved. And then the filming took... well, when I initially approached the actors, I sold them on the film being done in 2 to 3 months max, and it took 2 years of filming. So there was a lot of bargaining going on towards the end.
And they hung in there with you, though.
They did. And then the post took, you know, 6 to 8 months to do before we finally showed it in Boston, which is where it premiered. And
your film, too, is a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
Slightly different, though.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, ours is New Zealand's first ever space movie.
Cool.
So it's kind of a fantastic adventure about 3 guys that go to a sci-fi convention, and 2 of them are not into sci-fi, the other one's crazy about it. And they start watching this old B-grade sci-fi movie, and then they suddenly get sucked into the movie and trapped in this low-budget sci-fi universe where everything looks really fake, but it's real, and they go on this big adventure, you know, where they come across giant lizards and kooky-looking robots and evil warlords and all sorts of stuff before they have to, you know, try and work their way back home again. Yeah.
What an adventure.
It is an adventure. Hayden, what was the biggest challenge in completing this project for you?
Well, there's a few challenges. A lot of them were story involved, so how do we patch up certain things with story or character? That was like using the creative brain a lot, and I was really lucky to have amazing collaborators like Simon and my producers, Steve and Kelly, and friends to call on. So the challenges were never insurmountable in that way, and they were fun. The unfun challenges were asking people to do a lot of things for very little compensation. No financial compensation. So like maybe buy people lunch, up to $10 kind of thing when we were shooting. And, asking Phil Burton at Underground Sound down in Wellington to do the entire post-production sound for nothing because we had no money, which he ended up winning the New Zealand Film Award for Best Sound Design.
The Rialto Channel New Zealand Film Award. That's correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So it's kind of weird of him. But also, we did an agreement, if the film makes money or, when we can do these things where everybody owns a portion of the film. That's how we ended up selling it to people. Come along and depending on the amount of work you do, the contract that you sign is you'll get a percentage of ownership of the film.
But basically you owe favours all over Wellington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I moved up to Auckland.
Oh, did you?
To get, no, I didn't. No. But all these people are people I've worked with either before or definitely will again. We only worked with people that we really, really admire and respect. So I love that I owe favours to them because I can't wait to do whatever they want me to do now.
Christian, what about you in the making of your film? It took a little bit longer to make. So what were the challenges that you guys faced?
Well, money was a constant sort of challenge because we had none. I raised a little bit of money in the beginning and I bought a Red camera and stuff like that. But it was just an ongoing thing with building props and finding spaces to make the spaceship and things like that. And it was continual because it was only usually me who had to make the props and build the spaceship and stuff like that. So time was always a factor. Wondering if it's going to take too long before the actors, they might end up having to go overseas for something, and it's always stressful when you're dealing with things like that, and you can't keep people here, because you're not paying them. But there was so many things that sort of were always a challenge. Without money, just the makeup artist was always something that was often pulling out in the last minute before the shoot because we often shot on a Saturday and you get a text from the makeup artist at 9 o'clock at night saying, I've just got a job come up on Saturday so I can't make it, and that means everything sort of has to stop or you have to find someone else. So just ringing through all your people and...
And what's quite interesting about both your feature films is that you've both decided to direct, you're probably producing, written the scripts, you've starred in the film, and you're talking about making props and things as well. So you've got many, many roles. Was that... It's obviously out of necessity. How many roles, though, is too many? What would be ideal?
You go ahead. You answer first.
Well,
I'll copy yours if it's really good.
Yeah, I would have really liked a producer, someone to, take care of all that stuff that I was just saying about the makeup artists and all these people, because that was sort of doing my head in all the time, and I didn't have an AD or anything like that. And I imagine you didn't either, but I had sometimes, 50 extras on set, so it was kind of a big deal. And sometimes we did have ADs and stuff like that. It was just continual revolving sort of cast and crew, and they all did great jobs. But I think next time I just want to focus a bit more on maybe 4 things, 5 tops.
That's a lot. That's still a lot. I loved doing everything. I cut my film as well. So I went to Europe with my partner at the time and I was just having a blast editing all this stuff.
Because your film has a very complex narrative, and I could imagine that when you got into post-production, you could have had little moments where you were thinking, oh, hang on, have I, got what I need to make this story work?
There was a lot of that. Yeah, we did the first screening and we showed it to some friends who are filmmakers, and some questions came up that we realised we hadn't answered within the structure, and so we did some pickups. And I think we did the third cut, and Simon and I watched the third cut, and I explained something, and I said, I don't know if that comes across. And Simon said, I didn't know that was a thing. So even Simon, who was the DOP and, you know, my partner for the whole film, didn't understand certain things about the film. Yeah.
Had you read the script?
Yeah. He had, yeah, in great detail, and he was incredible, and he knew so much. But yeah, but I love doing all the different roles. It was definitely out of necessity. I knew if I was going to write and direct a film, I mean, even to have a sound person, because we didn't even have a sound person, that meant another car to have to organise parking for, and it's another lunch that you have to buy. If we had a makeup artist, you know, that's more kind of things that you have to worry about and organise, and I tried to keep that really small. So a lot of the time on set it was Simon and myself.
You achieve an awful lot, don't you? It's amazing what you can achieve. So tell me, what is your best dinner party story from the making of this film?
Probably the craziest coincidence that happened, which is why New Zealand is amazing and small, is Julian Dennison, who was in Hunt for the Wilder People. Incredible. He's also in a film called Shopping.
And Paper Planes.
Yeah.
He's been around, that kid.
He's coming soon in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds. Amazing. A few years, 2 years before I made Chronesthesia, I had been doing a Duffy Books and Homes tour to primary schools and talking about why filmmaking's awesome. I'd just come off The Hobbit, having a blast. So I was telling all these kids about, you know, if you read, it's cool to read, it's cool to achieve. And one of the teachers came up after a certain school and said, oh, you should talk to one of the kids in the class. He's just done an ad. And it was a drug driving ad directed by Taika Waititi, and it was Julian Dennison. And we talked about acting and films and stuff, and that was really fun. And then when it came to casting Chronesthesia, we didn't have an actor for that role. That had just been written, and that was one of the only people that we hadn't cast. And so I asked Nova Watatini Hewison, who plays the love interest of that character, is there any boy that you reckon you'd want to hang out with, and like a friend of yours maybe? And she said, oh yeah. She was too nervous to tell me, but her dad said, yeah, she got on really well with Julian Dennison at the Film Awards the year prior. And I remembered what school that I met him at, so I called the school, but they couldn't give me any contact details for him.
I thought you were going to tell me that you got her to call him.
No, I wish. That would have been easier. It would have cut some middlemen out. But we ended up getting in touch with him, and
yeah, he did it.
That was just this cool thing where like Nova had met him and I had met him, and then he ends up being this sensationally funny, charismatic young actor who's going to go on and have this incredible career.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he came along, and all we had to do was buy him a couple of burgers from McDonald's and we'd get him in our film.
Oh, it won't be like that for long.
I know.
It won't be like that for long.
Like
Christian, what about your film? I can imagine there were some quite interesting days.
Yeah, there was lots of interesting days. I guess one of the things that happened was after 3 days of filming, the guy that I'd cast as Tom, who's the main lead, he quit. And
sorry, it's not funny. I shouldn't laugh.
well, he wanted to, he was right. He said, I think this is going to take a little bit longer than 2 to 3 months. But these were 3 consecutive days. But he just sort of thought, well, yeah. Anyway, he wanted to pursue his own interests, and he said, if I don't do this now, I'm going to feel like a real dick, because I know I'm going to probably end up doing it later on, and I don't want to do that. So I couldn't find anyone else. I'd been through 8 months of auditions, and my shortlist for Tom was pretty small, and the only person I could think of was me.
It's going to be available.
So that was kind of how I ended up getting thrust into the role. Yeah, and I'd never done any acting before, so it was something which was a bit of a leap of faith for me, as well as the rest of the cast. I did audition myself. I did a tape, strutted up there, and I asked a couple of other people what they thought, and yeah, so there you go. That's what happened. There's other heaps of good stories, like Tansy, the lady that played Feraligatr. She lost heaps of weight by the time it came to casting, to going for the wardrobe fitting, and I had to build her a fat suit, just to make her character work. Yeah, I nearly got lost in the bush when I was having to throw a dummy off the waterfall at Kari. I was up there for like an hour and a half, and I was just and I could see myself being caught on the 6 o'clock news. But anyway, I got out.
The film taking a little bit longer, even longer than
Yeah,
anticipated.
yeah.
Oh, well, look, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. Make sure you catch these boys' movies. They're playing on Rialto Channel throughout November.
The New Zealand film season, proudly brought to you by Robertson Lodges.